Hey guys, and welcome to the Level 4 Beginner Guitar course with me, Rex Pearson, from rexpearson.com. Hope you guys are doing alright, and I hope you've got that first and second position. Hope you've got that second position and first position linked together really well, and you've been practicing it. If in doubt, remember there's helpful tips that I'll be putting in an ebook for you guys on how to practice all this and put it into a practice regime. We're going to be looking at now some really essential guitar techniques that are used in virtually every style of playing. I try to keep it as open as possible and as flexible as possible. We're going to start off with making the guitar sing. So these are different ways that we can play the guitar, play the basic notes that make you sound a little bit cooler and a little bit different to just basic guitar playing, basic notes. You'll see what I mean in a second. We're going to start off with sliding and bending. Now I'm going to show you what they are and how you can use them. Okay, now we're going to start with the slide. Now we have covered the slide slightly in the pentatonic lesson just before. A slide is where you go from one note and you slide to another note. Examples of bad sliding is when you slide too slowly and you get this sort of da da da, or rather than. And also another bad sign of sliding is where you don't quite hit the note or you get fret buzzes going on. Here I'll get this fret buzzing if you don't quite slide to the fret exactly just behind it. Now there's a couple of exercises you can do for this. One is to try and slide half a step across all 6 strings. And what you've got to do is kind of get a little snap in the wrist here to get it going over the fret nice and quick, and make sure you stop at the place where you would normally fret, just behind the fret wire here. Then try the same on the A string, same on the D, same on all the strings. The key thing to know, if you've done a good slide, the note will continue to ring. Note's still there. If you've done a bad slide, it will tail off and it won't be there. So listen to the sustain of the note and try and get as much sustain as you can from your bend. The next stage is to do a whole step slide. And not only slide up, because that works the sort of muscle and the tendons going that way, you also want to work the opposite way. So start sliding down to a note, which will feel different. Which will feel very different to sliding up. So make sure you practice both sliding up, sliding down, whole steps. Okay, now you can start using this in your playing. And don't forget that the slide can be used to go more than just a whole step. You can slide to any note within a scale. So I can be playing a scale, and I slid up to the 12th fret there from the 5th fret and got that slide to sustain. I played a little note on the end. So you can get a cool sounding little slide there to start making your guitar sound a little bit different. Try incorporating it into any melodies or any riffs or licks that you come up with in the first and second positions. The slide can add a whole new element to your playing. It's what we like to call as phrasing, which is a really important thing. It's the way that you play the notes that you're using. And a slide is one way you can build into your phrasing and make it sound a little bit cooler. The second thing I'd like to talk about in making your guitar sing is bending. You might have covered bending before, but let me give you a couple of tips and tricks that might help develop it slightly. Just like a slide, you can bend from one note to the next. Let's say we've got first position pentatonic scale and you want to bend from this note to this note. It's quite a common blues bend. Blues playing I'll cover in a future series. Pentatonic scale. Now you notice I bent to that note there. Now, there's two things about bending that you need to remember. One is that you almost always want to bend to a target note. So play the note before and try and bend to that target note. It's quite important that you get that sense of tuning in your ears, so that you make sure you bend to that note, because a lot of the times you'll need to bend to a specific note. So, good exercise for this is to play a note and then do a half step bend and try and hit that note on all the strings. And also okay, one thing about bending is you want to make sure that you bend downwards or towards the floor when you're dealing with the thicker strings. So that's the E, the D, the A and the D strings. When you hit the G, you start bending towards yourself, up to the ceiling. Now that's to make sure that you don't bend downwards on, the high strings and come off the fretboard. So you want to make sure that you're bending upwards on the first three there, downwards on the thicker strings. That will help you no end. The other little tip about bending is sometimes there is no target note, and it's just a little microtonal bend, what it's called, just to add a little bit of colour to your playing. It takes a little bit of experience in playing blues and jazz and that sort of style to be able to come up with ideas that work, but in this case you don't have a target note. You can see how I'm adding little microtonal bends just to add a little bit of colour to what I'm playing. Etc. So you can add microtonal bends to your playing to help make your guitar sing a little bit better. But for now, guys, I just want you to work on your target note bending and making sure that you can bend from one note and hit the target note. Very difficult on an acoustic, so I'd probably say only half step bends if you're on an acoustic, whole step bends if you can do, if you've got an electric guitar and you're looking at lead playing, you want to be able to do whole step and even bigger bends as well. Okay, so that is the first lesson in making your guitar sing. The next one we're going to look at are guitar techniques that are specific to guitar playing. We're going to look at legato, I'm going to give you a couple of exercises in that, hammer-ons and pull-offs, and the old classic tapping. Just to give you an experience, a basic rundown of what those techniques are, so you can at least break them out and see what it's all about.